peace. Always be remembered. Rest in peace. God bless you. We love you. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Wish my man to rest in peace.
Life is rather an embryo state, a preparation for living. For a man is not completely born till he's dead.
Welcome to episode 10 of MMA with Pepe and Dab. Can't believe it's already been 10 episodes. That's pretty good. That's our first real milestone. So shout out to you. We are your hosts, of course. I am Dab Hatter.
Hey, and buenas noches, I'm Pepe.
And we're here to talk everything and anything MMA. A lot going on in the world of MMA. A lot of stuff I'd like to talk about. First off, I'd like to just kick off stuff. I don't mind when the UFC has early events, but it just seems like they don't do. I don't know. I always end up missing it. I always end up missing that it's supposed to be early, and of course that's on me for the most part. But still, you would think they would do a little bit better job of letting you know that, hey, this one's going to start earlier.
Yeah, some of the Europe events are like that. When we started with Fight Island, the same. It was a bit odd because some of the fights, not the main ones, but some of them were during the afternoon, which you can adapt. But yeah, some of the prelims are very hard to follow. Some of the names you might know and recognize, but yeah, it's tough at times.
And I don't even really know why they started early on this one. I'm sure they probably said somewhere down the line, but I didn't catch it. So as a result, I missed the first couple fights. Especially from the early prelims. But I did get to see the one that I really wanted to see, which was the Ben Rothwell fight. Ben Rothwell fought Chris Barnett, and Ben ended up winning by guillotine choke. Real sloppy by Chris Barnett, kind of ran with his head in, and Ben just locked it in. And that's actually the first guillotine we've seen finished in quite some time. We've seen a lot of them attempted, and then we've seen a lot of fighters burn their arms out trying to attempt them. But yeah, Ben was able to get it done. And then we got into the main part of the night. Things didn't exactly go how I quite thought they were going to go.
Oh, the expert missed it?
Yeah, the expert missed it.
Oh, shoot.
If I was going to pick one, I would have thought for sure Cody would have ended up winning in the final, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, the first one, just to get things started, to me, it was not a good outing for Edmund. He'd been losing 2 in a row now, or 3 in a row, probably. It was too much for him to handle Hermanson. I mean, it was all over. It was just one-sided bout all the time. And I'm not sure if Hermanson had the opportunity to finish it earlier and said, well, let's use it some rounds and I can use it as preparation. That's how I felt on that one. It was just one-sided all over the place.
Yeah, and there was a lot of it. Went to the judges' scorecard again a lot throughout this fight, throughout the event. For the most part, I think the judges didn't do too bad. The fighters made it a little bit easier than most, but obviously there's certain fights that could be argued either way.
I have my questions in one of them, but we can talk about it when we get there a little bit further on the main card.
Yeah, so we had Jack Hermanson defeated Edmund Shabazian with a unanimous decision after 3 rounds of a good fight, I think. And then
I think the most outstanding thing here was the curly hair for Hermanson. That the post fight he was calling out that one that he can join the Ben Askren club with the curly hair.
Did they give out bonuses for these ones?
Some of the bonuses, yes. I think they gave bonus for some of the prelims. I think one of them was
Bruno Silva knocked out Victor Rodriguez.
Bruno Silva, yeah. Bruno Silva got one of the bonuses, and the other one I can't remember if it was on the Ramos fight. They had one of the bonuses as well.
The Ben Rothwell Chris Barnett fight was an exciting fight too. I was happy with that. They were banging pretty good. I think Ben's fucking nose got broke fairly early in that fight.
Nasty.
It was pretty good. There was a lot of blood in that fight. And was that the fight that the cut on the top of the head happened? Which one was the cut on the top of the head?
That was Jared Vandera.
Okay, yeah. And man, did that thing bleed. And we'll get to that fight in just a minute. But between those ones was Ricardo Ramos defeating Bill Alijo with a unanimous decision, another unanimous decision fight. Looked like it was pretty heavily to one side as far as the judges were concerned.
I love that fight because throughout the night there were good wrestling and stand up, but this was a very good standing and striking all over the place. There was a little bit of attempts on takedown on the first round, but Ricardo was just too strong for Algeo. I mean, he tried several times just for the takedown, but man, that was a very good finish on the first 2 rounds for Ramos because he finished out strong. He had a lot of punches. He was very aggressive throughout the fight.
So like I said, it was another fight night. This is another night where I think, like I had said, and maybe it's because I said something that's so long. The fight nights have been whooping the pay-per-views ass, but it seems like the tides have finally turned. Hey, that's maybe a good thing for the UFC, would think, because hey, that's the one people are paying for. They should be better, right? And then Norma Dumont versus Felicia Spencer. I thought Felicia Spencer was definitely going to have a lot better outing. It was a very close fight. Ended up going split decision in favor of Norma Dumont. What'd you think, Pep?
I'm a bit disappointed about Felicia Spencer's outing
I thought
because
so too.
we saw her just go through war with Nunez all the way. I mean, she was a warrior in there.
If I'm not
And
mistaken, is that
she was
not
flat-footed.
is she not the one that blew her knee out? I'm pretty sure she's the one that blew her knee out, and the doctor come in and just felt it, and then he was like, "Yeah, she's good to go," and then she kept fighting on a bad knee. I could be wrong.
I don't. You mean in this fight?
Not in this fight, in a previous fight.
Oh, I can't remember that one, but I mean, she had a long time just to prepare. She was slow. She was flat-footed. She was trying to push over, but there was not an option for her just to take down. I mean, there was several attempts, but on the attempts, there was not a fake on top and then going on the bottom. She's very good with the kicks, and she didn't use it much. And even the Brazilian knew it. I mean, Norma said, no, we're not going down. Let's stand it. And on the stand-up, Norma just, I mean, he was very fast on the counter. She was very good on the low kicks. And I never saw Felicia comfortable throughout the fight. I'm a bit disappointed on her outing because we know how she can do it, how better she can perform. And she was not there. I mean, I don't know if it was a training. I don't know if she was hurt, but she was not the Felicia we used to see. Actually, the last one with Amanda Nunez.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were really surprised because she come into that fight as a relative nobody to fight Amanda Nunez, and she opened a lot of eyes because she wasn't just a pushover for Amanda. Obviously, somebody who runs through the division.
Yeah, it's sad to see. I don't know what's next for her if she needs to. I mean, I always say that I don't think she could be slimmer and a bit faster because she's very good with the legs. She's a strong woman. She can take someone down, but I don't know if the weight cut is hard for her. I didn't see her in top shape. I saw her tired. I saw her flat-footed. The kicks were not there as fast as she do it. I mean, she has a very good question mark kick that she didn't use it. And if she used it, Norma just read it all the time. And on the counter, she was just punishing her. I mean, it was bombs that Norma was throwing. And when she tried to take it down, she used it in her advantage just to clean out and make sure that the judges got it right. She took over and run over Felicia. And I'm a bit disappointed because she has a skill, she has a heart, but I don't know what happened in here. I expected a better outing.
I don't think it was a split decision, though.
No, I don't know if one of the first rounds went towards her. I saw it.
Yeah, it was
more
a
as
30-27, 29-28, or 28-29, and 29-28.
Yeah, I don't see a 29-28 on that one.
So moving along to Jared Vandera versus Justin Tafa. This is where Vandera was the one that ended up getting and when he was bleeding, it looked like it was this great big gash on his forehead. And I said, let's just wait, see what, because everybody's like, oh, they're going to call the fight. They're going to call the fight. And I'm like, yeah. No, let's just wait to see what it's like when he gets back to his corner. Because like the head fucking bleeds a lot. I've seen a lot of people end up getting head wounds and it just pours blood out. And then sure shit, he got back to his corner. They wiped it off. It was a nice little gash, but it wasn't what you thought it was.
And it was a quick elbow that Tafa just threw in there when they were close. And very good job by the cutman on the corner. I mean, he was clean on the next round. He was not bothering. He was not bleeding much until he got punched again.
Tafa had more blood on him coming into the next round than he did.
Yeah, he was very clean. I can't remember who the cut man was, but man, an amazing job, because sometimes you see the cutman just throw all of the Vaseline that you can on top of it, and it's uncomfortable and you're slippery, and you're not allowed to do that in the MMA because of the slippery. But man, what an amazing job for the cutman in that corner.
Yeah, he just jumped right in there with the Q-tip, just rammed it right in there, and I can only imagine the force he's pushing down on that thing with a fresh cut right in your head. And then he just stuffs her full of the Vaseline, and away you go.
It's just a painful thing, but obviously they're running a lot of emotions and adrenaline that, hey, that's out of the way. Now, these two guys were throwing haymakers. I mean, there was bombs all over the place. There was one point when both of them collide and both of their shoulders hit each other. Man, they were throwing everything at each other. It was nasty to listen. I mean, there was not public, and we were mentioning this on previous episodes, that whenever there's no public, you're listening to everything. And all of those hits that they were getting, my gosh, I mean, the right jab from Vandera it was very strong, and then it hurt like a bitch.
Yeah, man, they were really trying to punch through each other's head, and like you said, Taffa ended up landing that little sneak elbow. He was actually under, like he was in the defensive as he was doing that kind of when he landed that elbow, because everybody originally when you seen the blood, I thought it was Taffa's blood, but no, it ended up being Jared's just pouring out of his head, and it made for quite a spectacle and quite a good fight. And it ended up going unanimous decision Jared's way.
As somebody said, the blood gods were happy because it had happened.
Oh yeah,
I know people are excited to see that. In my opinion, I know some fighters that are known by harming somebody with elbows because it happens
like
a
Kenny
lot.
Florian did it a lot. Tony Ferguson
Correct.
did it a lot. That's what happens when you start bringing that a good person with their elbows. Those are probably some of the most dangerous weapons in the octagon.
And that's what they're trying to do, is they're really trying to hurt you or stop it. And boxing is more common with the headbutts and people throwing their arms or just hurting them with the gloves and the cuts that they just do there. It's unfortunate. I don't like seeing a lot of blood on the sport. I'm more into the jiu-jitsu type of things or wrestling type of fights with the good striking. But man, those elbows are dangerous. Now, this is the fight that I think the judges, for me, it was very, very close. Watching it live, it could be going either way. The only one round that I noticed is the second round. Vandera really hit him bad. He was wobbly, and he just went back to the cage and covered himself, and then recovered Taffa. And he was coming back with a vengeance. That's the only one that I saw clearly for Vandera. But man, it was very, very close.
Yeah, they give him the first round 30-27. And then the last round ends up going 29-28. So that first round must be probably the questionable round, you would think. That's fighting, baby. That's why you got to finish them. You don't let it get in the judge's hands. We've said that over and over again. You don't know what kind of judge you're gonna get on what kind of night. Some night they're absolutely awful. Other nights they're great. And then some nights they're a little bit in between, kind of like we had here tonight. I know the lot judges on the last one were really, really bad.
I think it was Mark Smith, the referee from that one. There was one shot that he was behind the fighters, and he just saw the punch, and you could hear the punch.
Yeah.
And he even made the face like, "Oh man, it was just excruciating just to hear the punches going either chest or the gloves or the face." Man, they were very strong. And as you mentioned the other time, it's just one punch. It only takes one punch for those heavy fighters.
Man. Any given punch could put somebody right to sleep. All they got to do is connect.
Indeed.
And speaking of connecting, Carla Esparza definitely connected over Yan Xiaonan versus finished that fight round 2 near the mid of the round. TKO to strikes.
Jan was a very good upcoming challenge. I mean, Carla has been in here forever. She's been one of the most I think what is it, her 17 fights, something like that in the UFC.
She's been around.
And she's done enough. She was very good, and one of the things that they were questioning her is that she doesn't have the power to stop fights. The last time that she did it, you remember who she did it to?
No, I can't imagine.
It was Rose Namajunas.
No
When
kidding.
Rose was coming up and she won the championship. And that was with I think
I
it
knew
was a
Rose had
choke.
had more than a few losses on her record.
That's one of Carlos Esparza. That was back in, I don't know, 2012 or something.
Yeah,
It was a choke against Rose. And
and
that
Rose
was the
was real
last time.
young.
She was very, very young. She was coming in. I mean, I don't know if she has earned the fight again for Rose. And this is what we were talking. Um,
They're all fighting for second place.
do we give the rematch just once again to Zhang, or should we look for somebody else?
I don't think
in this fight, Carla is raised her hand.
Yeah, I don't think in most instances I would say yes, give the champ an automatic rematch, but I don't think the same reason I didn't think Gaethje should have got a rematch right away, because they didn't hold the belt really long enough. If Jones was like somebody like John Jones was lose their belt, they should get an automatic rematch. Stipe, he should get an automatic rematch, just because he's held the belt for so long. This one here, it's kind of on the borderline. Yeah, she had a couple real serious defenses. Like the fight with Joanna was a battle and everything, but I don't think it should be a rematch right away.
Now, one of the things in here, we're looking into one of the best strawweights that we have seen in the last. I mean, is Rose, is Zhang, it's Carla. Like, if we want to call it the OG, I think Carla is made her way up just to be the number one contender.
I would put Carla as the number one contender. Either let him have the fight or whatever you want to do, or let Carla, maybe give Carla somebody else to fight in that division, maybe one more fight, and let Joanna and Wiley do number 2 for the number 1 contender fight.
So you're doing both eliminations, and then the winner for those will do another.
I would do the winner of Wiley and Joanna goes on to fight Rose, and then in that meantime maybe have Carla fight one more time, and then if they lose, then she would be the obvious number 1 contender.
Man, but that's hard, because
so then either that or have Carla fight Joanna.
I'll have Carla just take a shot at the title for me, in my eyes. I mean, she's done her work throughout the years.
Yeah, she
proven everything.
And you could even still do that. Let Carla fight Rose, so that way Rose is active, but still have the number 1 contender fight after that with Joanna and Wiley.
Could it be? Now,
because I think Joanna and Wiley definitely has to happen again. I don't think anybody questions if that fight should happen again.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if the winner out of that automatically would take a shot to the title. Why don't we give someone else the opportunity?
Yeah, no, that definitely, and that's why I think you are right, and Carla could have the shot at Rose right now, but I don't think there's anybody else below them, really. Wiley should have it. Joanna come pretty close. Joanna's run the division. She was the champ for the longest time. I think she's definitely in that upper echelon. She hasn't had a fight since. I don't think she's had a fight since the Wiley fight.
I can't remember one. I think she hasn't.
So it would make sense for me for at least Wiley and Joanna to fight again, and I would think the winner of that would be the number 1 contender after. Well, so we'll say the number 1 contender after the Carla Rose fight.
Could be that. That's more of my likeness. I mean, I like that one better than just give them another shot, because Rose has just bit with them and Wiley just bit Joanna. So
yeah,
to me, it's just give another shot to somebody else and take it from there, because you can have the champ basically with Carla. Carla gets her chance, and the other two say, "Hey, let's go clean for that out and see who's the best."
Exactly, and I definitely think that's what should happen.
Now, this outing for Carla was very amazing. She was very aggressive, and she broke the record for a strawweight. I think it was 169 ground strikes that she landed.
Yeah.
So it was just amazing for the time that she finished on the second round.
A lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, and which is exactly what you would need to beat somebody like Rose. That being said, you also got to have the defense on the feet. But if you can get her to the ground, but Rose is just as dangerous on the ground too. It would be a great fight to see. Yeah, it's kind of one of those the polar opposite type fights.
And if you ask me, you can sell it easily. You can bring up those 2012
Yeah.
records of her beating Rose, and Rose just coming back for a vengeance and being the champ.
Yeah. No,
I could easily
it's
buy that
sold.
fight. I mean,
It would definitely sell. And then you know what? Hey, on the same fucking card, have Joanna and Wiley fight on the same
that'll
card.
be that'll be interesting because you already know what's going to happen from those two. If someone
Exactly.
wins, would be the next contender. Hey, we may not be the experts, and you may not guess who's the winner, but
Yeah.
you're doing very good cards.
Yeah, I think that honestly, like I like Rose enough, and I like the Wiley Joanna fight enough. I think that could be a main card all in its own, with them fighting, and maybe either have Valentina do a defense, or maybe Amanda do a defense. Have a 2-champ night with Wiley and Joanna to be the third final fight of the night. Wouldn't that be a card?
I'll buy for it, and I'm all in.
And then we get to the main event of this card, and like I said, this one didn't go how I thought it was going to go. Obviously, Cody Garbrandt coming off that picture perfect counter punch knockout in his last outing, but Rob Font just proved who the better man was tonight. Cody didn't look the same. Cody's kind of like that. He come in great in one fight, and then in the next fight he doesn't seem. It seems like something's off, and that's just kind of always been his Achilles heel, is consistency. But Rob Font getting the job done, and it was a good fight. It wasn't a boring fight by any means, but
Very
not the
interesting
way I thought it
fight
was going to go.
from my side. The total opposites from here. I mean, as you mentioned, Cody is just unpredictable. You can have one good fight and then one bad fight. And on the other hand, we see Rob Font just improving every time that he's coming out. He was known for his striking, even though they both were wrestlers in high school. But I think Rob Font had the better striking on standing, a better reach. He was using it appropriately. And I don't know. I mean, the first round was Cody had 1 or 2 takedowns, but those takedowns, I think they were more of I'm hiding from the punches and I'm taking the advantage because you're throwing combination just to get close to you, because he was getting swamped.
Oh yeah.
The timing on Font was just precise. That jab was working beautifully. I mean, good jab. His pace was on point. He had very good cardio. He stick to his plan. And even though Cody took those takedowns on the first round, I saw it all the way for Font. I mean, he was doing a lot of
there was
damage.
no question. And it was just he was just doing a lot of damage, and he just outworked Cody like we had said previous with outworking fighters, and it was just this was a prime display of something like that. Rob definitely deserved that bid, no question, or definitely deserved that win, no questions asked. I was more surprised. I wasn't more surprised that Rob won. I was more surprised that Cody fought the way that he did. But I guess you always expect big things out of Cody because he's had so many big things happen. But you got to step back and remember and realize that that's not Cody. It doesn't happen all the time. You'll get it one out of 3 fights.
Yeah, and on the second round, one of the things that I loved is Cody tried once again with the takedowns. He actually was on top in some point, but there was a good wrestling exchange from both of them. I mean, Cody was on top, and then Rob tried to escape, and then Cody got a leg, and then they both just twisted and circled. It was just amazing to see. I mean, this is exactly what both of the fighters are showing. I mean, they have the knowledge, they have the technique. But there's just a little bit of the edge that you need just to be one of the greatest. And I don't think Cody has it. I don't know what it is. He's got the skill, he's got the technique, he's got the physique.
He's also always had the one punch chance a lot of the time. And lucky enough he has landed it, but sometimes he doesn't, and this is the result that ends up happening. If he can't really get that one highlight reel knockout, which is a one punch go to sleep thing, then it's usually it doesn't go down good for Cody.
Now that in this case, I don't know if reckless is the word that I can use for Cody. I'm not sure if he's reckless, but I don't see a game plan at all. I don't see strategy coming over. I wanted to see on the second round something different that didn't work, and you see it every time. I mean, if you're going all the way, it's like, okay, first round, let's crash it over. Let's talk to our corner and do something different. I saw the same thing. Nothing happened. And if he was expecting something changing, he did not do enough just to do something for him on the fight.
Yeah, so it was pretty pretty mediocre ending to a pretty mediocre card, in all honesty. Kind of just what the fight nights have been in the last little bit. They're still great. I still enjoy watching them, don't get me wrong. But it's definitely been a huge switch from what the pandemic's been. Like I said, obviously the fight nights were kicking the pay-per-views asses, but that's no longer the case, which is the way it should be.
On my feeling after the entire card I seen, it was a very good preparation fight for Hermanson. I mean, I want to see him do something better with better challengers and that option. Carlos Barca is getting a shot now in this one for the bantamweight. I'm interested to see what's next for Rob Font because we still have not seen TJ Dillashaw fight. That's another fight that is upcoming. Peter Jan, for me, it's Jan, it's similar to Cody, if we might say it, on the height, on the style.
Yeah.
So might be a good matchup for Rob Font if we see him against Peter or whatever happens to TJ. So I'm interested to see what's coming up after the card. Not actually most of the card, but what are the possible implications that are of the upcoming fights that we might see in here. Even, I mean, there's Aldo versus Munoz as well in bantamweight. What about Dominic Cruz? I mean, we can have Rob just against Dom Cruz. I don't know what's on Dom's
Yeah, but Rob,
head and what will happen about it.
Dom's got 2 back-to-back losses now. And
Exactly.
no, he's
But
got
he
one
has-
win because they had the one win where he called out the monster guy.
Yeah, the second fight where he was doing his promotions. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been silenced or what's next for him, but
Yeah, he
that could
didn't.
be
He didn't
another
say
option.
nothing else after that.
Yep, it's been silenced. Now, talking about Rob Font, for me, those are the options. Either put him against Peter Yan or wait for what happens with TJ or even Dom Cruz. But there's
But what's
a
going
lot
on
of
with the
action
belt?
that might be
So
upcoming.
are they going to hold the belt until the champ's better?
I don't know. I mean, Aljamain,
What was the problem with Aljamain? Wasn't it a collarbone or a shoulder injury or something like that?
I think it was a collarbone. They have not mentioned anything. That would be a very complicated fight because that the wrestling style and the reach from Sterling will be interesting to see.
But I think
But hey,
Jan. I
he's
think
not in the picture.
yeah. I guess they're not going to give him an automatic rematch, nor should they. I guess especially that's. It is what it is. He lost the fight for an illegal strike. So
That's why I think it would be a good, interesting match prior to getting a shot.
yeah, and then they
to
could
have
have
Peter against Rob Font.
and if it
Rob
is just a,
Font,
if it is just a collarbone, they could definitely have that fight and be able to wait long enough that the champ should hopefully be healed up enough to the point where he can defend the belt without having to take it away from him.
correct, because there is no written rule that says, hey, that if you lost the championship, you will get an automatic
Yeah,
shot.
no. Well, some of them have it in their contract. Others don't. But yeah, it's another just night of fights. It was good to watch, and I'm excited for the next night of fights. But moving on, we got a bunch of news stuff going on. If I can bring that up.
This is coming from the Barbosa, I think is the first one that we were talking about.
Yeah, Edson Barboza wants to face a top 5 featherweight, and he predicts fireworks in each fight. And you know it, Edson never disappoints.
I think that would be good. Now, look at the names that he's throwing in there.
Qatar, Korean Zombie
Korean
makes a lot of
Zombie.
sense. Korean Zombie's just lost. Me against Holloway, I would love to see him in Holloway. Yeah, no,
Holloway,
Edson's
that would be good.
making good cases for all of it.
And all of them sound tempting. And even, you know me, I'll be rooting for Yair El Pantera Rodriguez, which he has not fought since the Mexico fight where there was the eye poke. I know he's hungry. I know he wants to come back. But man, Barbosa is calling good names. Qatar, the Zombie, Holloway. Man,
I would love to see him in
buy
Holloway.
any of those.
And Holloway's somebody we haven't heard too much from since all of them fights with oh God, why is his name the Australian? Who's the champ that he lost his belt to? I can't believe I can't remember this.
Oh, yeah. Volkanovski.
Volkanovski, that's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh.
But yeah, we haven't seen nothing from Max.
Volkanovski is busy with the Ultimate Fighter, isn't it?
Yeah, I do believe so. I think you're right. And
Now,
is Max?
Max made several outings since then. I mean, and he's not waiting for anyone. I mean, he's ready. I know.
No, I know he is.
he just beat Calvin Qatar the last one after the loss with Volkanovski. But Alex is I don't know if that was already recorded. But Alex was in line to fight Ortega, and he just missed it because of the COVID on his camp.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're gonna run it back. Not sure what's going on in that one, but
But
I'm feeling bad because of Ortega had his chance against Alex, and that's called out.
But as it goes along, Edson gets older, but he's not. He doesn't show signs of letting up, and he doesn't look like he's getting ready to quit anytime soon. That's for sure, and I'm glad to see it. Edson's one of my favorite fighters. He's always an exciting fighter to watch. Predicting fireworks, I would think, is a pretty safe prediction coming from an Edson Barbosa fight. And a new date of July 24th being targeted for the bantamweight belt between Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw. The contracts haven't been signed, but once it's official, the belt will headline UFC Fight Night at a location to be announced.
I think this is a little bit outdated because it's May 19th. I think that's I
believe
think
it's
that's already
confirmed.
signed.
Yeah.
I think that's already signed, and I'm interested to see what happened after this fight, because Dillashaw could have a title shot again, or he can run it.
I think they're gonna make.
Rob
I
Font.
think they're gonna make him work a little bit harder than that, Pep. I really do. I don't think they're gonna give him a one
And
fight
why
to
do
the
you
belt.
think that?
Oh, because he took steroids, and it wasn't no fucking picogram bullshit, no weird supplements. He was taking needles in the ass to fucking get bigger. There's no fucking question about it.
Was it to get bigger or to cut weight faster? Now,
Yeah,
once again, remember,
Either way,
these
performance
guys
enhancing drugs.
are against some contracts that Uncle Dana has them tied up. So, I mean, I don't, once again, it's all for the safety of the sport. This is a very cruel sport. This is a very dangerous sport, and they should all be in the same playing level. And in this case, meaning you might get juiced and you might hurt somebody really bad and end their careers, and sometimes even
Exactly.
end
If
their
they want to have a
lives.
fucking juice league, have a juice league, but then have a clean league too. And I don't think, like in MMA, I wouldn't mind seeing baseball players juice. Let them smash the ball 700 fucking yards, make baseball exciting. But as far as fighting goes, when they start punching through each other's fucking skulls, then you don't be needing that in the UFC or in
I agree
MMA for
with
that
you.
matter.
The only thing is the situation that these fighters go through. I mean, if you already you have a contract for a fight and you don't know if you're gonna make the weight, and you're doing everything, even the impossible, just to make the weight. And we saw how his outing was on that fight. I don't know. I mean, there's something that has to be said, but well,
And of course, during this past weekend's UFC festivities, Paul Felder took a minute, a little bit more than a minute, to announce his retirement and give his goodbyes and farewells and whatever. Obviously, he's going to stay on as an announcer, so I don't see Paul going anywhere. But he's no longer a worker. I guess if there was ever a worker in the UFC, Paul Felder was that guy, a stepping stone type of guy. And I don't really necessarily want to call Paul a stepping stone type of guy. The guy's tough as fucking nails. He just always comes out. He's come out on the wrong end of a few fucking wars. And obviously, he's taken his fair share of beatings as well as given out his fair share of beatings, and just decided it was time, which makes sense to me. I don't know why he really took those last 2 or 3 fights. I think he just wanted to do it so he could do it. The last one being he was training for a marathon. He didn't even intend on fighting. They had him step in. So shout out to him for being there. I enjoyed his fights. All his fights were great. His fight with Hooker was great. It was a war. I enjoy all of it. So, but I guess I didn't catch that part because I was actually over at a friend's house, so I was outside for that minute, and then I come back in, and I seen a lot of people that were bitching about how long the speech and whatnot was taking.
hey, but I saw the entire thing, and it was not just a one-sided speech. There was a lot of questions coming in from the folks. I mean,
Yeah.
it was not a marathon; it was a triathlon. Even worse.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I think he was right. I mean, he said there's a fighting spirit in me. There's a challenging for me.
Yeah, and that's
But
the only
hey,
reason he took the last fights.
and he said I took those fights because that's the fighter in me. But then he said I don't feel the same fire. And if you're not all in this sport, it is very dangerous for yourself.
And I
So I
think,
think that's the best description that a fighter can say about what he's feeling.
but obviously he's in a little bit better position than a lot of the other fighters, and I'm sure, like Dana does give that option to a lot of these fighters that to retire. Some take it, some don't. There's obviously a lot of media that can be done through the UFC afterwards, after fighting, and it's good to see that Paul's going to, you know what I mean?
No, not everyone has it. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
We see it, and there's no character behind one of the person.
Yeah.
There is no personality behind it. It's just a show. It's just somebody that doesn't do the work. And I mean, Bisping does a very good job.
Bisping's your excite guy. Dom Cruz, Felder, they're your technical, explain it out kind of guys. Joe Rogan's your excite guy. Tries to Joe Rogan's about a perfect mix of both, and that's why he's so good, because he can explain it out while being the excite guy. DC's same way, he can do both. Bisping really gets fired up. They're all the announce team at UFC's got a great announce team. Annex there just for the voice, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good showing all the way around. I'm excited to see Paul continue on as a ringside color commentator. I enjoy when he calls fights.
I love the way that he handles himself, because he tries to be true to the sport. He tries to make just
100%
honest descriptions. He's not one-sided. He's just explaining what he sees. He's just being clear on that. I mean, one of the things that I love is one of the Twitter, now that we're remembering his career, one of the guys just on Twitter said, "Hey, you should have done this, you bitch," whatever. And I said, "Why don't you come and say it to my face?"
And the guy said no, and he goes, "Because you're Paul
because
Felder,
you're gonna
you'll
kick my ass." I say, "Respect."
Yeah.
Correct, because I'll do that. That's one of the things that I'll remember about the Irish Dragon. And the other one that he actually mentioned, that one on the retirement, he said, they ask, what do you think about Charles Oliveira? And said, "Hey, congratulations, you're the champ. But just remember, on the UFC 218, I knocked you out, and that's on your record, and that's not going over anywhere." So great champ, good belt, great teeth, but hey, I got a knockout. And that's the way that he is. And I love that part of the side. It's not many work for fighters like that. You have to really show it. I know these guys are on the fight nights because it's not the big cards, but still, you have something to do. He's looking forward for competing on a half Ironman that he's going to do. That's what he mentioned. That's what the fire keeps it going. I mean, you're still competing,
he's still busy,
there,
and he's still in the business.
You're preparing, but you're all on something that is safe for you. Still is asking a lot of you. It's 70.1. It's too much to say. I haven't done one of those. It's my wife has done it, but I'm still on the lookout. That's a great thing and way to go out. But well, that's what happens whenever you go to the end of the fight.
So we talked last week about the nasty break that Jacare Souza suffered, and unfortunately too, his contract was up. He was not released, though. His loss to Andre Muniz, UFC 262, will be his final fight with the organization. I think he's already been talking about trying to get a fight with Bellator, if I do remember correctly. I don't think Jacare's done as much as I think as he should be done. But like we said with Paul Felder, some guys are able to figure it out. Some guys know when they should be quitting. Others just can't bring themselves to do it. And we all wonder if Jacare might be in that same boat.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, he has no leverage on asking for a new contract. The last outings are not very good for Jacare, and he's got a gruesome injury in here. And there is no way that you can easily say, "Hey, give me a better contract," or something like that. I feel that he could do an okay career in Bellator, but still, this is a problem what we are discussing once again. It's, do they see them ride to the sunset and retire? And I'm not sure if the fighter it's in there. I think we will see him on another company.
I definitely think we're going to see him in another promotion. It's just the way Jacare is. And hey, I respect the warrior mentality, but there's at a point you got to set that aside and like actually use your fucking brain and know that you're doing nothing but damaging your body, and you're going to pay for it for the rest of your life. And if you hadn't have took that last fight, life wouldn't be so hard for you when you go to try to wipe your ass at fucking 65.
Yeah, it's hard to see, and this is not a very easy sport to retire on, and not a good sport to towards their warriors and fighters. But hell, we'll see what happened with Jacare. We'll look forward on what are the next steps. We have not heard anything since. We'll wait. Probably
Yeah, we'll have
negotiations
to
are
wait
in
and
there,
see.
and there's still time for him to heal.
Definitely. Kevin Holland decides he's going to go work with the best wrestler in the world, Daniel Cormier. I don't
What
think.
do you feel about it? Is it a little too late?
I don't think it's too late. I think he's got a chance because he's young enough that he's got a chance for a second rebirth. He had that fucking he rose, crashed. If anybody's gonna get this kid on the right track, it'd be Daniel Cormier. DC would fucking. He's not gonna take his bullshit. He's not gonna let him be the way he is. Essentially, the things that make if DC can turn around his bad traits, then I think Kevin Holland could be a true contender. If DC is able to impass his knowledge on and he picks it up, but he definitely does have a long way to go. But I think if anybody can do it, it would be Daniel Cormier.
Now, coming back to what I listened on Joe Rogan when Kevin Holland was there, he's not hungry. He needs to be pushed. But then, I mean, you're with the best, and you have to put in the work. I'm not sure. I mean,
see, DC's gonna make him cash that check, and it'll either be he does it or he doesn't. They're going to know within the first couple, a little bit of working together. If you hear a couple weeks down the road they split up, then you know it's Kevin ain't ready. But if he can go through, I feel like DC never half-asses anything, so why would he half-ass trying to coach? You know what I mean? If this kid doesn't want to do it, DC will just say, there's the fucking door, you know what I mean? Quit wasting my time. I really feel that. And then hopefully, like I said, he'll be able to pass that knowledge of wrestling onto it, but that dedication to the sport and that determination as well.
now, and I say this because we know who DC is working with. He's with the Nurmagomedov. He's with the Islams. He's with all of the top tier discipline. It's the polar opposite of what Kevin Holland is. I feel like he's going into boot camp and he's not going to make it through.
And I can understand why you would feel that, but on the flip side of that, you got to look at maybe he stepped back and went, okay, this is where I'm fucking up. What's the best thing I can do to try to fix this? Name me a better thing. Who's better than Khabib and Daniel Cormier to learn how to get a ground game from?
Yep.
He already knows how to strike. He's proven that. And every fight he goes in there, he hopes guys are going to stand and bag with him. But people have figured out that as soon as you take him to the ground, that's his kryptonite, and he can't win for shit. So now as soon as everybody he fights gets in the ring with him, that's the first thing he does. So if he wants to better that, who better to go to than the world's best wrestlers? So hey, this is him. This is him taking the first step. You got to at least give that to him.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know if that's the first step taking into that direction from his camp, not himself, because this is not the first time that DC said, hey, come and train with me. This is like 3 fights ago when DC said it. I'm even surprised that DC just said, hey, once again, my gym doors are open, come over. I mean, what is DC asking that kid for? A lot. I mean, I know DC is a good guy. He wants to help him, etc. But I feel like he's had to go through boot camp, and I'm not sure if he's going to cut it. We'll see what's coming up out of it. But I need to clip that when he says, I hate wrestling. I am a black belt in Kung Fu, and I take my medicine or my vitamins. I smoke my joints before practice because I need to be in that relaxed state. I don't think that's going to fly with DC. We'll see what happens.
Hey, yeah, and you're definitely right about that, Pep. And like I said, hey, if he wants to do it, no better place to get it done, because DC and Khabib aren't gonna they're not gonna half-ass it. They don't half-ass anything. And then the last story of the day, probably the most, I don't know. I left this one for last because I got some thoughts on it. I think we've all got some thoughts on it. Joshua Fabia. It looks like the relationship has been. I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck to call it, Pep. I'm fucking speechless.
Just in this case is whenever you have a girlfriend that's very toxic,
yeah,
and then afterwards you start posting on the internet about you and your stories.
The more and more this shit comes out, the more and more I think Cowboy was 100% right, and there was a love interest going on at the same time. This is what it's starting to look like.
Hey, the more that we add into that story, the more fantastic it gets. I mean, once again, when we heard it and we start seeing the videos, I was concerned for Diego's well-being.
Yeah.
Right now, it's okay because somebody made
Somebody
sense and
got
said,
to him
just
and
cut
got
him.
him. Get the fuck away from this crazy nutball. He's out of his goddamn mind. He's gonna ruin your career, or already has ruined your career. I don't know if Diego can come back from that. Who only knows if he'll maybe try to go back to Dana and say, listen, this guy was drugging me for the last 4 years, and I was in his sex dungeon, and now I finally broke free. Who the fuck knows what's gonna happen? But it's just a fucked up situation all the way around. That guy is such a fucking, he's like, he may as well be skinny Steven Seagal.
Yep. Just full of BS. And I've read from Bisping just saying, hey, that little cockroach does not belong in our sport.
No.
I've heard from DC saying the same thing.
And for him to bust into a broadcasters meeting and go, listen, you guys talk about us in a bad light, you make us look back. Nobody, like, motherfucker, you make yourself look bad, you dumb son of a bitch. Like, how can you expect Diego to stop a punch with the fucking force of his mind, or say that he knows a fucking death punch but he ain't gonna use it on anybody, and all this other crazy wild shit, and he's been tortured and he knows this and it's a frame of mind, and now he's saying that fucking Dana White's after him and they've been sending fucking hitmen and all this other shit. He's out of his goddamn fucking mind. And it's good that Diego finally and maybe hopefully figured it out. When it first come out, I was like, okay, Diego just dropped him to try to like clear his name or whatever. I wasn't sure if it was an actual split, but now that fucking Fabia's been throwing all this shit and insults at Diego, it looks like it might actually be a split. And the more and more this shit goes on, I think Cowboy fucking nailed it. I think they were lovers before that, and this is just a lovers quarrel we're seeing now. I think they broke up, and like, we were hearing crazy shit. This guy had power of a fucking attorney on Diego. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's just crazy and amazing how people get involved in this. And this guy, I mean, if you see the way that they're trained, I don't know why people are following him. I don't know why.
Because he's a fucking nutcase, and it's like a car wreck, Pep. You don't want to look, but you can't look away. And that's exactly what this has become. It's a fucking spectacle. It's nothing but, it's not fighting anymore. This has become a fucking, what is this crazy fuck gonna do next? It's reality TV series.
No, that does a lot more against those fighters than the sport, because all of the sport is against him, as I said.
Oh yeah, everybody knows he's a fucking clown. Every single buddy. And I think everybody was worried about Diego too at the same point.
Yeah, that's a very good point, that everyone shows some respect for Diego and what he has done, and they were all concerned about it. Now, this guy was talking about Diego Sanchez's the divorce, and also about 30 different other substances that were not supposed to be in Diego's. I mean, it's like just a big soap opera. I mean, I'm just amazed of what all of this is happening, and all of the backfire that this guy is now getting. Now, well deserved, because he shouldn't be around.
Not at all. I hope they fucking bury this
led.
piece of shit.
And I don't know if that's gonna make it, but I think if this does, that would be one of the most important wins for Sanchez, just to make sure that this guy does not appear near any of the story. And if he's called a trainer, if he's called a coach, well, hey, I can be a coach, and hey, I have a sensei. Shout out Boots, that he could be either a better trainer than this guy.
100%. 100%. No, it's one of the weirdest fucking stories ever in the UFC. Diego's always been a bit of an oddball, but I don't know. It's just two oddballs fucking got together, and two wrongs don't make a right. And I think that's what we're finding out now. It was a crazy series of events, and it ain't over yet. I'm sure there's going to be more excitement to come out of this whole fucking thing. The story will only get better, I am sure.
And I'm amazed on how they were mentioning about Favia. He was the self-awareness guru. It's like, oh, I mean,
he was a self-nutcase is what the fuck he was.
My gosh, I mean, there is no reason on that. And now he said that Diego disowned some of the family members just to stay loyal to him, and he's not repaying it. I mean, it's just a soap opera. It's just out of our Mexican soap operas.
It's a whole fucked up story. And like I said, I'm sure there's only more to come, and it'll only get better from here. We'd like to thank you all for sitting around and watching us, and the MMA podcast will only get better from here as well. And I think coming up in the next few weeks, we might start taking callers into the show. Actually, I've got ideas on how we can accommodate that. So yeah, if you guys are interested to call in and you have a computer, I think we're going to go use the Discord service. I don't think we're going to do actual phone calls. We're not going to go through the trouble of getting a phone number and all that. But I think we're going to get it where we can have people just jump into a Discord channel, and we'll pull you into a channel that me and Pep are in, one by one kind of deal. And or we might try the new feature like Gumpy's got with what's the one on Twitter there, Pep?
I said Spaces.
Spaces, yeah, Twitter Spaces. So Discord's got
similar to Clubhouse, but it's Spaces.
Discord's got its own version of that, so maybe we'll give that a try too. So look out for that if you want to get onto the MMA show with Pepe and Dab. And we'll have you on to hear your opinions on some of the crazy shit going on in the MMA world. But thank you all for watching for this week. We'll be back again next week, Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Dab Hatter, and this is my co-host.
Hey, I'm Pepe. Buenas noches.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
And the ones that I'm in smell death in the wind. The scent so shrill, got cold and I had to head for the hills. He and I used to kick it till my mind got ill. Then I realigned my will, redeemed by my skills. Returned to the forefront, trained for the kill. Now I'm watched by the seal on the back of the bill. Mailbox full of bills, here's when it gets real. Doctor walks in, hands and prescriptions for pills. A mother gets worried, her son's not healed. The son gets buried, that's the pain they feel. They seek fame and fortune, living the life. But what's your life worth? Could you give it a price? Are you rich cause you got cars, money and ice? Define rich if you can cause you can't live twice. Fame and fortune, living the life. But what's your life worth? Could you give it a price? Are you rich cause you got cars, money and ice? Define rich if you can cause you can't live twice. I rise up as the dust settles, take a deep breath, gun smoke, rose petals, blood on their hands, scent of death, surrounding the metal, land of the damn city's a mess, split into levels under the pale moonlight, the plight and the peril, fighters and peddlers push, packs, light in the metal, nicer than ever, strike terror through the heart of the devil, Archangel Michael in the temple, sharpening weapons, harvest the message, honest invest, part of the blessing, honest to death, another one, that's an honorable mention, ponder a second, grand scheme of the celestial heavens, get overwhelmed, start feeling like life is irrelevant, or follow the reverend, falsely portrayed as benevolent, programmed by the television, they think they're intelligent. The night of terror is upon them, we embellish it. The men of God relish it, live one with the elements, I'm gone. Everywhere I go, I feel the reaper walk near. It's like everybody's leaving and I'm still here. The pain shocks, got my head feeling real weird. Like getting knocked in the head with a steel chair. But still, lots of my memories are real clear. I take shots of the Hennessy to stay aware. Vivid thoughts appear, staring in the mirror. See myself as a kid, that's when things get eerie. Talk to God, but I'm feeling like his ears can't hear me. Used to sob, but I'm numb now. Got no feelings on my job. Every verse I write with blood that's spilling. Like the mob, it's similar to contract killings. Take your contract, shove it up your ass. I don't need it. Fuck the labels in the industry. Filthy death dealers, you soulless demons get buried for trees, and that's a very
smoke weed every day.
Yeah, good job, Pep. Yeah, man, shit has been crazy here for me too, man. Like, we are in full movement swing. Yeah, so, and then the stuff with Pat, I would get that, and then trying to fit in school. We just got that long weekend. Yeah, been busy.
Wordsmith, barbarian persons merged with Sumerian serpents. We barely even scratching the surface of this barren land. The panopticon, watch us run like Saruman. Barricade your power plant. I'm coming for the source of your energy. I talk to your thoughts through telepathy. I walk through the walls of jealousy that you built me. Brain so beautiful, my heart so filthy. I'm guilty of judgment, the story of a sinner. Reality's the ugly face before me in the mirror. I don't normally consider the supernatural connection. The question is who is embodying the reflection. Perfection can only coexist with destruction. Suicidal syndrome, a cynicide seduction. We living in the realm of adolescence with depression. So I can't help but wonder why we walk in this direction like
I feel it getting closer. I feel the fire in my body taking over. Got the future in my pocket, got the key in the door. With the vision way brighter than before. Do you see But I see out there the angels were searching for me. They never said it would be easy.
All right, back to Duke for Gov.
No, I can't wait.
Woke up in bed as I'm laying there, paralyzed, pair of red eyes were just staring at mine. Face full of teeth like Baraka, it smiled. They're jagged and pointy, massive in size. I question myself, I'm dreaming, or am I? Squirmed to get up, gave up, and then tried. Gave up again, then tried one more time. But all I could do was just look side to side. Felt this force overpower me, darkness arrived. The face had a cloak, and its hands open wide, put its palms on.
Thanks y'all for sticking around for the MMA podcast. Me and Dab, or me and fucking Pepe. Jesus Christ, we're back to the Dab Hatter channel. Full stoner in full effect. Don't expect brains here. You come to the wrong place. Let's do a dab, shall we?
Strange apparition appearing from smoke was here on a mission to snatch up my soul. But that ain't the end, nah, that's just the start. It opened his jaws about as wide as a shark. I readied myself, made peace in my heart. Then all of a sudden, a light in the dark. It entered the room, not a moment too soon. And that shadowy figure was quickly removed. I examined the light as I regained my sight. Seen this marvelous creature stand.
Shout out to Paul Mars, providing the soundtrack for my stream.
The sun, these robes wet as snow, tall like a giant, skin looked like gold. Wondered what happened, though I do not know. As I'm laying there froze, the angel then spoke, a glimmer of hope.
Oh shit, I don't know if I have sound.
Heard it say Paul, then it just paused, sat up in awe, could move now once more.
You don't know, I got no sound. Where the fuck did that come from? Where's it come?
They said beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I told them they vision got blinded and I showed them. Till their throats pierced by the fangs of a cobra. The venom settled in. In a minute it was over. The pinnacle I rose to, lost my composure. Fell from the sky high speed, then I woke up. Rose on the sofa, cloudy, smoked up.
Oh shit.
Mountains with my team, we all show love. Soaked up the pain, rain on foes till they frozen. And told them, you gotta maintain if you chosen. Me, I never chose this.
Dab.
Didn't choose omens, still had my moments. Sharp but outspoken, preserving the motions. Soon gained the notion to move on my own as I cruise. Now I won't slip. See the devotion, don't lose my slogan. Only manifested off the fact that I spoke it. Plus, my head's hurting. Lost in the uncertain. See shadows behind curtains emerging from blind service. A side purpose, certain my rhymes working. Just look at the signs merging. Never mind, start serving. Sit in a scribe.
I'm gonna have to do a quick computer restart. I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.